About a year and a half ago, I was down visiting my family and trying to keep my nieces entertained. So I made them some of these paracord people. This is one of the first tutorials I remember making on this channel. And they just loved them, and they still have them to this day. So today, we're going to be making them some paracord dolls out of Paramax. This will use 25 feet of paracord. We've got colors from the movie Frozen here, acid purple and neon turquoise. One for each of them. You'll just need 25 feet for making one doll. And then a couple wood beads for the monkey fist heads, since we don't want little kids running around whapping each other on the head with steel ball bearings. And then a beefed up lighter, some pliers, and a good pair of scissors. Let's dive right in. So this video isn't going to be so much a tutorial as maybe a craft along. If you want to learn the techniques that we used in this doll, you can go ahead and watch the Mummy Dummy video. We'll be using pretty much the same thing, but we'll give you some pointers on how to do it in Paramax this time around. So we'll start with Elsa. Got our 25 feet here. We need to cut this into 4 different lengths. So the first one's going to be 10 feet, because that's going to involve the head, which is a monkey fist, and then part of the body as well. Next, we'll cut 2 4-foot sections for the arms. Then we should have about 7 feet left over for the legs. 3, 6, 7, and a little extra. Perfect. So these lengths are different from the Mummy Dummy one. Since it's going to be a lot bigger, we need a lot more cord. For now, we'll set aside the arms and the legs, and we'll use that 10-foot length for the head. So making a monkey fist, I found out, is actually a lot easier when you're making it in Paramax. So we'll just make this on our hand. Start at one end. We're going to do a 4-pass. Let's just do 4 passes around my hand. And then the downward. 4 passes on that too. You gotta make this fairly small or we'll actually run out of cord even with our 10 feet. Then our last direction around this way. All right, so that's completed. I'm actually going to back it off just 1 turn. And that means we'll only have 3 stripes on this side, but that prevents it from getting bunched up underneath this wrap. So now we'll begin tightening down after first putting our little core in there. It seems like a really small core for such a big knot, but since our Paramax is so wide, it works pretty well. All right, we got that tightened down after a couple passes. The trickiest part about this is that you want both of your ends to be the same length so that you don't run out of cord. But once you've got that tightened down to the right spot, we'll move on to the 7-foot piece. You want to find the middle, and that's going to become the body. So we'll start by making 1 knot for the neck. And we'll just be using a cobra or square knot for this. So I'm just going to do 1/2 of that cobra weave. We can tighten that down later here. Once you get that somewhat in place, now we'll grab our 2 shortest pieces, those 4-footers, and those are our arms. So again, you want to find the middle and put those behind the body, but over the top of your weaving strands, like that, and then do the other half of your cobra knot. Tighten that down. And then you can pull your core strands tight. I think it works best if you have one of your strands from the monkey fist just kind of be long and the other one's tightened down all the way. I felt like that gave the neck a little bit more structure. Before you move on, just want to check to make sure both those arms are the same length. So again, we don't run out of cord. And that should be good enough. So we can set those arms aside for now as we make a little bit of the body. just make sure that those center cords are tightened down as you go. We'll stop about there, so 4 or 5 inches for the body should be good enough. And our weaving cords should be about the same length as our middle cords right now. They're not quite the same, but pretty close. I might just make one more knot for the body. There we go. And we'll set the legs aside for now and work on the arms. For the arms and legs, we're using a snake knot. So that's just a simple loop around one side, bring the other around and down through the loop. And if you didn't follow that, you can check out that other video. But that just tightens down into a little bit of an oval shape, so it works good for limbs. You want to pull that pretty tight. And then maybe after you have a couple of these, you can pull your slack through on the other side. Just make sure that's good and tight up against the body. But we'll finish this up. I found that it's about 7 knots that you want on all the limbs, but you can change that up depending on your preferences. There we are, done with all those snake knots. I did the legs the same length, and we actually ended up having a little bit of extra cord left on those ones. So now we just have to cut and seal these ends, which is a little bit more complicated than it sounds with Paramax. And since these are being made for kids, I don't want these knots to come undone. So we've got to figure out a way to seal those ends that won't allow that. So what I came up with is this. Grab our scissors and leave a little bit extra room compared to normal. Maybe about a 1/2 inch. And then we're going to need those pliers that I was talking about. And we're going to try to melt these 2 ends together. So I found that the easiest way to do that is to put both ends in your pliers and don't quite squeeze them together. Just keep them almost together. And then get your jet lighter and go right in between those. And then once they're good and melted, you can push that together and wait for it to dry. Then once those are held together well, you can go ahead and melt the rest of those edges. So it's not super pretty, and I did melt a little bit of that cord around it, but I think it's going to hold that together well. You can melt around the edges a little bit more if you don't want any sharp pieces sticking out, but I think that's going to work. If you guys have a more elegant solution, definitely let us know in the comments. So we'll finish up those other limbs and then move on to Anna. So I would say this is a pretty major upgrade from the original, but we'll have to see what my nieces think when I give them to them. Thanks for joining us for this one. If you want to make this for yourself, we'll put a link in the description to where you can find that 1/4 inch Paramax, as well as the tutorials for the originals. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.